everybody, good morning. This is Michelle with Creative Operation at Country Craft Creations. So I have a walkthrough of the project that we're going to be doing. So this is my suitcase project, and I'm using the design team collection that I got called Voyage. This is by Country Craft Creations, and you'll notice that I have this collection as well. This is Prima Luna. I did buy this last year from Country Craft Creations, and I used it as my prototype project. So I made two of these. I just thought I would share with you both of them so that you can see that it was kind of two completely different paper collections, but it can work for all kinds of things. But the Bon Voyage, I'm telling you what, is absolutely stunning. So the reason I got the suitcase idea was because of this paper collection. So I'm going to link my design team haul so you can see all the things that I bought for this particular collection. And then we'll go into the tutorial right after I do the showcase, okay? So I'm going to take this one away for just a second. I will show this, I promise. And then we'll go through the Bon Voyage suitcase album. So again, because it is a travel collection, I really wanted to showcase it in a really fun and different way. So I decided to make kind of a folio out of it, but I used all of the things to make it look like a suitcase. So it actually does have a handle at the top. You can pick it up. I tried to kind of mimic some kind of maybe old-fashioned suitcases that had like buckles in the front and all that stuff. So that's where the graphic 45 tags came in, just to kind of go through the outside here. So these wrap around from the front to the back. I used the graphic 45 tags from my design team package in a couple different ways. I used them as the handles, I used them as the side closures, and then we're going to use them inside as well. I got the grungy gears, and I use those instead of flowers. I put those on here because it was kind of, this paper has kind of a masculine feel to me, so I didn't want to like fluff it up with too many flowers, but I did use the twine here to put a bow behind the gears, and then I just hot glued them on there, so it kind of like looks like a flower kind of deal, and it has, you know, kind of that kind of accent. This here, I bought the charms for the design team package here, and I added a gear to this chain that I had in my stash. So that is pretty much the only thing from my stash that I used was this chain. But I decided that, you know, luggage usually has some sort of a tag, so that's why I decided to do that. So I added the chains, and I added them on the inside, just hooked around the seam binding handle, and it just, I think, turned out really cute. So that's the front. On the back, I'll show you the side view so you can see everything's kind of enclosed, and it's going to open up to quite a large album. So on the back, I put a pocket on the back of our little suitcase here. I used one of the ephemera pieces that I fussy cut out, backed it on cardstock, and then added that to the pocket. And then inside the pocket, I used some of the cut aparts that were in the collection, and then this is a piece of the graphic 45 tag that I had left over from making the top handles, and I just covered it on one side with some leftover pattern paper, and then instead of using an eyelet, I just punched a little hole and I put one of the gears on top of that and glued it down and used that as a decorative accent, and then added the twine through there. So then these just tuck in the pocket here, and you know, there's a lot of space for pictures and stuff. So again, there's the other side. I love how this turned out. So it opens up like this. These help to contain the album. One thing I did use are also 4 magnets, the large basic gray magnets, to kind of help keep the shape of the album. On the sides here, I just use one of the cut aparts on each of these just to kind of give it another little accent there. And I left the cover kind of simple because this is basically kind of the cover, you know, decoration here. So when you open this up, you'll notice that this doesn't fold out because there are magnets under here, and that's one of the reasons two reasons I did the magnets: to keep the shape and to help it so that you could actually pick it up by the handle as you would a regular suitcase. So it will come apart, but when you first open it up, the magnets will keep it shut. In here we have a pocket, and then I used a couple of the graphic 45 tags and one of the cut aparts. You always have to have a travel checklist, right? So I cut these down just a little bit to fit, and then added pattern paper that I had left over on one side so that we have tags, and then I had a little bit of seam binding left. So there's that. Then it opens up here. So again, there's magnets that close this here. Another piece of ephemera. On the front here, we have a pocket. Now this pocket is a little bit deceiving as it does come up. So there are two magnets under there that hold it to this particular flap as well. But it does have more cut aparts in here. So we have a 3x4, we have a 4x6, and then we have another one of the tags that I had cut the top off for the handle, and I did do that grungy gear instead of an eyelet on the top, and I really love how that turned out. So these just fit into this pocket right here, and again, that opens up. So then I'm gonna kind of move it down so you can see. So this is the back side of that front pocket. So then we'll open this up. It has quite a few flaps in here for lots of opportunities. So this flap opens up and you have a waterfall. There are camera papers in this collection that are absolutely adorable, and there are Polaroids. So one of the other things that inspired me was just doing the Polaroid thing. I've kind of been into that lately, so I wanted to use it in a different way. So I created a waterfall here with the Polaroid size, and I will show you that in the tutorial. And we're going to do an odd number waterfall. This is my stacked method, so we're going to go through an odd number this time. And this is Polaroid size. I looked it up on Google, so it is 4 inches by 4¼ inches, and then the photo opportunity space here is 3.5 by 3. So I put pattern paper on the front. I left the backs blank for full-size pictures. I'll just flip through that really quick so you can see. And left it fairly simple because I want not only to be able to close the box, but I want you to be able to add pictures too. And then behind here we have a pocket. And then in here, I made little tags out of bits that I cut off of the graphic 45 tags. I just made smaller tags using my scraps. And then here's another one of the cut aparts from the paper collection. So these just kind of tuck into that pocket here. I did use, you've noticed I have some notches in my pockets. I did use my envelope punch board to create notches, and the notches in the back pockets that are wider, I use that as well, and I'll show you that in the tutorial. Okay, so then let's fold it back up, get back to the center of this. So we have some outer flaps, and again, I left them plain. I wanted to really showcase the paper, but also give you room for opportunities for photos. Then we have a second set of flaps, and you'll notice that they're different sized. Those open up. Is this paper not gorgeous or what? I hope you can see this in the screen. I tried to kind of do a wide shot here. And then we have more Polaroid pictures. So we have Polaroid flaps here. So again, I just put the papers on there so that you could, you know, have a like a Polaroid kind of opportunity. And honestly, if you didn't want to use the pattern papers, you could put, you know, just a picture on you know, one side and put pattern paper on the other. You can do this however you want, but I really was going for the Polaroid look. We have another flap on the inside, and I just had to use this somewhere, and I thought this was a perfect page to use that on. You could stick a picture over here. Then you open this up. I used a couple of the ephemera pieces, backed them on cardstock, and then I just created like a little tuck pocket with them and used one of the cut aparts backed on cardstock for another photo opportunity. But isn't this, it's just gorgeous. Another Polaroid frame, and this one is done so that you could put a picture underneath it, and I just thought it fit really perfect with this. Now this is a mechanism. This is the last thing in this album, and what this does is it opens up both ways, so you have an opportunity here, and then you have an opportunity here to put lots of photos. So you could put 4 on each side. This would hold 8 pictures. The ephemera pieces that I put here, I did so you could tuck a picture behind. And then it just folds up like so. So it goes down like that. The Polaroid pages go like this, right and left, right and left. And then this comes down over the top. And you can see it's bringing the top of the base with it because I really wanted it to hold everything together and keep this nice shape. And then these tie to the front. So there is this album here. Now let me show you the different version that I did using the Halloween papers, because I really thought, I picked these papers. I bought these last year and I never used them, and I really, really, really wanted to use them. I thought, well, you know, witches go on vacation too, so I made this. I did tweak the design from this a little bit to make it fit kind of a little bit better, because you notice on this one the paper doesn't come down quite all the way to the top or to the bottom of the case, but I mean, this is still gorgeous, right? So using the Luna papers, again, I bought from Country Craft Creations, but they were from last year. But there is a new collection out this year that would work perfect for this. Any paper would work for this. I totally love this. So I did use some flowers that I bought from Country Craft Creations, one of the cardstock ghosts here, and I did put October 31st up here. You notice on the Bon Voyage, I had a label here that said adventure in the front. I also did, the charms were the only thing from this one that I didn't buy from Country Craft Creations. I did get this little pumpkin, and I did put it on a chain here on the handle. And again, you can totally pick this up, which is kind of cool. So the side with the kitty cats, and then the back, again, another pocket. I used the chipboard sticker here, and then there was some cut aparts from the collection that I added to the pockets. I did ink everything because of the dark paper that I used. Oops, thunked my pumpkin. So this opens up. They had cut aparts that I used on the inside here, and then this opens up. Again, I went for the Polaroid feel, and I have magnets in this one, but I put them in a couple different spots in the other one, and I think that worked better. So that's why I always do prototypes. I mean, this still works great, but I tweaked it. I wanted to make sure that it was really perfect and held together really well for y'all. Another pocket back here, more cut aparts. This is super cute. This is going to be amazing to add to my Halloween collection. I love it. So here again, the pocket with the magnets here, and in this pocket, more cut aparts. And those just fit into this pocket right here. And then that opens up, and let's make sure you can see that. So I've got, you know, you can put photos on here too if you want. Beautiful little witch here with her pumpkins. And you'll also notice that I did flip the waterfall and the pocket pages, and I did that on purpose because I think that it worked much better to have the waterfall more on the inside. It made the cover less heavy, and it closes better. So again, that's why I do this and I tweak it. Tags, again, more graphic 45 tags that I used in this particular pocket. And then we have the pages. I didn't change these at all. I did use some of the ephemera pieces, made a pocket, and then I put some of the tags from the collection in there, like so. We have the flaps here, and again, more ephemera pieces that I added more of the cut aparts for this collection. Okay, Polaroids. And this one, I did use pattern paper on the whole thing, and then I put a photo mat in here, so you could totally do that as well if you wanted to. On this page here, I just added a piece of the ephemera pieces that were part of this collection, and I created kind of a crooked belly band and added a couple of the ephemera pieces here, and then just tucked those in there. This opens up. I had another piece here. I used a cut apart to create a pocket, and then here is that mechanism that opens up. On this one here, I put the pattern paper on the inside. The only thing with that is if you want to do that and leave these open, you're going to have tabs that need to be covered up, so I did have to use another piece of cardstock on here to do that. So you can do it, but you will have to add another cardstock to cover up those tabs from the construction. But on this one here, if you put them on the outside, then you don't have to add extra cardstock here, and that'll make sense when we create it in the tutorial. So that is that. So then it just shuts like that, like that. You got your sides. All right, that top flap here, this flap goes up here and it closes it up, and then this will tie. And again, I put this on the other flap, the inside flap. It works much better, so I would suggest that you do that. Again, that's why I do prototypes, because I really like to make sure that the design is good and that my ideas work. And yeah, so there's that. So we've got this one, this version here But today we are going to make this beautiful version with the Voyage paper. So let us get to the tutorial. I think you're absolutely going to love it. Let's get started with the tutorial. So we're going to work basically from the outside in. So we're going to start with the outside covers, and there's going to be what I'm calling a front cover top spine, and then there's going to be the back cover bottom spine, and I'll explain that as we go. But for this first part, we're going to take two pieces of cardstock. One is going to be 8.5 by 9 1/4, and the other one is going to be 4.5 by 6 5/8. That's going to be a pocket for it on the inside of the flap. So grab the scoreboard, and then with your bigger piece, which is 8.5 by 9 1/4, you're going to put the 9 1/4 at the top, and you're going to score at 5/8, and you're going to score at 3 5/8. Okay, so 5/8 and then 3 5/8. We're going to do this because we're actually, when we adhere our other piece to this, we're going to leave a little 1/8 of an inch here to kind of raise the top flap. It's going to make sense in a minute because we're going to put some magnets here, and I want to make sure that everything stays flush. So that's why this particular tab here is 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so that's kind of important. So after you do that piece, then to prepare the pocket, and I put the Post-it on upside down. To prepare the pocket, we're going to score on the 3 sides to make a pocket. So on the 4.5, you're going to score at 1/2, and then you can turn it. And then on the 6.5, or excuse me, the 6 5/8, you're going to score at 1/2, and you're going to score at 6 1/8. Okay, so let's get this out of the way, and then we'll do some folding and burnishing. Now, you need to be careful with this 5/8 inch piece here for the mitering. From the score, we're going to mark an 1/8 inch, okay, with our pencil. So I don't know if you can see this too well. I hope you can. So here's the score line. Here's the 5/8 inch tab. I just did an 1/8 inch mark right there. So past that pencil mark is 1/2 inch, okay? And then that's where we're going to miter it. So I'm going to grab my scissors, and from that pencil mark, I'm just going to miter this like so, okay? Just a little 1/8 of an inch. So you can see where it's flush at that 1/8 of an inch, and you take off the 1/2 inch mark. Then for the pocket, we're going to just create a basic pocket. I'm going to cut pretty sharply through the corners there to help decrease bulk. And then let's fold and burnish this. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, and then the next thing I want to do is, with this particular project, I really liked using my envelope punch board to do my pockets. So with the tabs folded, I'm going to grab my other ruler. So with my centering ruler, now this particular pocket, if we measure it, is going to be 5 5/8. So it's a little bit trickier to find the center, but if you do go and check the center, it's going to be just like a 1/16 of an inch past the 2 3/4 mark. Okay, so just a little wee bit past that 2 3/4 mark. So I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to find my 2 3/4 mark, and I'm going to go just in between 2 3/4 and 7 7/8. Okay, so that should center in the pocket perfectly. Okay, this will go on the inside of our cover eventually. Okay, so actually this is actually going to go right here. So let's go ahead and just glue that down and get that done. Got my art glitter glue here, and I'm just going to line that up on the left hand side like so. Okay, I'm using the artisan cardstock from the 8.5 by 11 inch pack, And so I kind of designed this particular book around using that. So that's kind of determined my page sizes and things like that. But the paper that I'm actually using is the 12 by 12 paper pack for Bon Voyage. Okay, I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do, if we decide we want to save paper later, I'm going to put this down so that it covers that tab up and my tags will slide in a lot easier. Okay, and I'm going to glue that down. Okay, so this is going to become the front cover. So literally it'll be in the front, and then this is going to be the top spine, this big 3-inch piece here. Okay, so that's done. Let's put this off to the side for just a second. Let's grab the next piece that we're going to need, and then we'll put the rest of it together so I can show you how that's going to go. So with the back cover, with the bottom spine here, let me put this off to the side, get it out of the way. So with the back cover bottom spine, you need a piece that's 8.5 by 11, and for the pockets you'll need 2 of these. One's going to go on the inside, one's going to go on the outside. 9.5 by 3.5. You'll need 2 of those. So let us grab this piece here, this bigger piece, which is 8.5 by 11, and with this paper pack you do not have to you know, cut it. We're going to put it in with the 11 at the top. We're going to score at 3, and we're going to score at 5.5. Okay, and then with our pockets, both of them are going to be scored the same way. We're going to put them in at the 9.5 at the top, score at half at 9, and then you can turn it and score at half again. Okay, so get this out of the way. We're going to fold and burnish. So this particular bottom piece, this is going to become the back cover of our album. So that'll be this piece here. This will be the bottom, what I'm calling the bottom spine, and then this piece here is going to be a pocket. We're going to make a pocket out of that. Okay, so you have that piece done. Our pockets, we're going to do the same thing as far as mitering. So I'm going to miter that 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to go right across those scores on the corner pretty sharply so that it takes the bulk out of the pockets. You don't have extra folds where you don't need them. So we'll do both pockets like that. Okay. Like so. Get rid of these little pieces, and we're going to fold and burnish, and then we're going to grab our envelope punch board again, and we're going to punch notches with these. Now you can punch a center notch and be done with it, or you can go ahead and punch a notch that I'm gonna do, so however you want to do it. But what I ended up doing was I took, after I folded my tabs in, and I measured in 2.5 inches and punched, and then I measure in 2.5 inches on the other side. I have to turn it over to do that and punch. I'm going to do that on both sides, so make sure that you do the top cut edge, not your little flappy edge, right? And then don't ask me how I know that. 2.5, put it in at 2.5 and punch. And then I'm going to take my cutting mat here, and I need my ruler and my straight edge, and then I'm just going to line up the inside there. I'm going to just go ahead and with the bottom where that tab punch is and line that up, hold that down nice and straight, and just cut that piece out. So it's going to give us a cute little notched pocket. Now again, this is optional. You do not have to do this. I just really wanted to. Okay, so I'm lining it up again. All right, there we go. Okay, so we're going to take this. One of them is going to go right there on the front pocket there. So if we open this up, it's going to lay right there. I'm not going to put pattern paper on the inside of this pocket. I'm just going to cover it with pattern paper on the outside, because only a little bit of that black is going to show. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to lay my pocket down, make sure it's all nice and lined up right to the edge of that score. And again, this is kind of going to be on the outside. Okay, so when you fold it up, you want that pocket that we just punched right on the outside there. Okay, open that up, and then since we're not going to put pattern paper down in there, I'm going to go ahead and use the Scotch tape trick and go ahead and just put that over that tab, and then that way, again, it will prevent, you know, our tags from kind of sticking on that tab. It'll just kind of slide over. Okay, then we can finish our pocket by gluing these tabs down. And I kind of had an idea for a suitcase kind of album right after I saw this paper. And I worked on a prototype, and this of course is not anything near what my original idea was. I expanded on it, but I've had a lot of fun doing it. So there's our front pocket, and then this last pocket is going to go on the back. But first we're going to do something first with the back. So we're going to hold that thought for just a second. The next thing we're going to grab are a couple of our graphic 45 tags. So these are going to go on this album, and they're going to adhere to the back side. So that's why we're going to wait to put the pocket on the back. So these graphic 45 tags are the long ones. So you can see I cut the bottom off. So I used a package of 6 of these, and I used them in a couple different ways. So for the side tags here, what you're going to do is you're going to cut it to 6 5/8 inch long. So I just put it in my scoreboard, or not my scoreboard, my cutter, and I lined it up and made sure it was nice and straight, and I cut it at 6 5/8. So it would help if I probably put my paper on right side up. So 6 5/8 here. And that's what you're going to have left over. Now you can keep these, you can use these for little tags or something like that. So I'm going to put them off to the side, because my thoughts were, we have all these great cut aparts with the paper collection, so we might be able to use those or use scraps of paper and create smaller tags. So I'm going to save these, put these off to the side and save those. And then when you have your tags cut, then we're going to stick them in our scoreboard here, and both of them are going to get scored the same. So you're going to put it in with the eyelet side on the right, and you're going to score at 1/2 and at 3 5/8. Okay, so 1/2 and 3 5/8. So both of those will be done like that. So then go ahead and miter the 1/2 inch piece on the bottom of your tab. So this is going to create a side closure that's going to help keep everything super nice and tidy in our album. So I did a couple things in order to keep the shape and the look of a suitcase. Okay, so that's what I was kind of going for. So I wanted a side thing to keep everything in where it needed to be, and kind of keep the shape of everything. So after, let's see, we do that, we're going to just fold. Okay, I'm not going to go too crazy with the folding as far as burnishing and all that, because I don't really need to. Then I'm going to take my back piece. So this is the back cover we put the pocket on. We're going to flip it over, and these are going to glue right to the middle on the back side. Okay, so however it's easier for you to do it, you can either, you know, do it that way, or you can put it under here and center it, however it's easier for you to do. But we're just going to grab a little bit of glue here, and I'm going to grab my centering ruler here and My center should be at 2 3/4. So I'm gonna go, this is gonna be at about, let's see, it's the easiest way to do this. 2 3/4. And this will be just a 1/16 away from 2 inches. Okay, as far as the center for the tag goes. Okay. So that's one way of doing that. Now, if we do it from the other direction, so I can show you both ways, we're going to put our tab here. So whatever works for you, whatever's easier, you can do this both ways. 2 3/4 is the center, and we just kind of slide that under, and it is about a 1/16 inch away from 2 inches to have the center of that. Okay. The other thing you can do is fold that over, and then when you glue that down, you make sure that everything is nice and lined up and centered that way too, so you can match the two sides. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. A little convoluted couple ways of doing it, but however it works best for you. So now we have our two kind of closure pieces. So when the album folds up, these will wrap around the front. So that's part of what we're doing here. So then this piece here, this is the front cover we just did, we put to the side, and here's that 5/8 inch tab. What we're going to do is glue this to the back of that. And we're going to, let me get this out of the way for a second. We're going to glue that down to the pencil mark that we drew on that 5/8 inch tab, okay? And this will make more sense in a minute, but we need to have that little extra 1/8 inch of a space because we're gonna add some magnets here, okay? So just to that pencil mark here, I'm gonna add some glue. And this album does get kind of big too, but that was kind of another point of my design, is I wanted it to have lots of nice flaps and fold outs and things like that. Okay, so top spine, here's our back cover, bottom spine. I'm going right to the edge of that pencil line that I did at 5/8 of an inch. So basically I just kind of extended that just a little bit. Okay, like that. Okay, and then on the back we have the second pocket. This second pocket is going to go over these tabs on the back of the album. Okay, so here's the bottom pocket that'll fold up. Okay, back of our suitcase will be here, so we're going to just glue that pocket down to the back. I'm just going to go right to the edge, like so. Make sure it's kind of in the middle. Okay. All right, and then we can use our tape for inside that pocket. Okay, and then we can glue these sides down. These will glue right over the closure tab. So that's why you need to put the closure tab on first, so you don't mess up your pocket, because they'll be those closure pieces will extend above the pocket, and if you glue those down after you put the pocket on, then you'll glue part of your pocket shut. You don't want to do that. Okay, there we go. A little wipey. Okay, so far this is what we have. If we fold this up right now, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so you have your closure pieces on the front. Everything is good. So the other thing you're going to notice, well, no, you won't notice that right now, but anyway, never mind. Scratch that and reverse it. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is I had these put out, and I thought we would just go ahead and, you know, work on the outside and work our way in. So 2 of our graphic 45 tags I took and I cut them to a total of an 8-inch length. So I basically just put them in my board and then just measured 8 inches and then cut those little pieces off. And then what these are going to do is that's what is going into these pockets up here. Okay, so that's pretty much done. Then the next thing that I want to talk about are the pieces, the tags that we're going to use for the handles for the top of this. Okay, so we've got our 8-inch tags. We just cut a little bit off to make them fit the pocket, right? Because this is only 8.5 inches and the tags are too long. So that's why we cut those to 8. We have our 2 tags that we cut for our sides. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put the little handle, or we're going to get the handle pieces ready, I should say, but we're not going to put them on yet because you really do need to put the pattern paper on first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this down. So this is the top spine here. And with the last 2 tags from that package, we're going to take them, we're going to cut the top 3 inches off and save the rest to make the tags. And then we're going to trim them to 5/8 of an inch on each side. Okay, so here is what I'm talking about. So you have your tag. So if you look at it and you see this full length, what we're going to do is cut off a total of 3 inches off the top and then save these 2 pieces because you can use these for tags for later in the project. Okay, it makes a really nice size tag. This is just shy of 5 3/4 by like 3 7/8. So they're a nice size tag. So just put those off to the side. So then you have these 2 pieces. Then the next step that I told you is, and I'll show you what we're going to do here. The next step is to cut 5/8 of an inch off each side. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about right here. I cut off 5/8 of an inch off of each side to shorten it down a little bit. Okay, so then this piece here, that's going to go right here. So this is why you have to put your pattern paper on first, because it's going to set right on top and help create the suitcase handle piece. So grab your cutting device. I'll lay that down. So I'm going to take my 3-inch piece and I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to line it up at 5/8 of an inch to cut off, like so. Okay, that little piece there. And then I'm going to flip it over and do it again. So I'm measuring to 5/8 of an inch and cutting that off. Okay, so now we have this piece like this. All right, then you will take your scoreboard and we're going to do a little scoring. So both pieces will be scored the same. You're going to put them in your scoreboard with the eyelet to the right, and you're going to score at 2 inches, okay? And actually, what you want to do is score it on the back side. I should have said that. So score it on the back side of your eyelet at 2 inches because you want that bend to go that way, okay? So I'm going to put it back in my board. I'm going to score it on the back side, and then we're going to turn our valley right here into a mountain. That's what you want, okay? So you want it pointed up with the eyelet right there, okay? These 2 pieces will eventually, when we get our pattern paper on, they are going to go on either side like that, okay? But the next thing we need to do before we do that is we're going to grab our seam binding. We need to prep them to make sure that we have our closure done. So the other thing we need to do to prep these before we kind of put them off to the side and wait till we have our pattern papers ready is we want to put some score tape and seam binding on the backs of these. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some seam binding here. We're going to center it on the back side on this piece here, and that will be roughly, let me check here, just a little past 1 1/4-ish in the middle, okay? We're going to put a little piece of score tape, and then you're going to take your seam binding, and this is on the back side again of your eyelet, and we're going to lay that down, okay? It's going to fit basically right over the center through your eyelet, and then you're going to take and thread that through. If you can get your fingers working, because I can't, obviously, today. and you're going to thread that through. So this is the back side. So this is what you're going to see on the top. You're going to have that coming through. That's what's going to tie our handle together. And then this whole section down here will get glued down onto our project. Okay, so that one is prepped. Let's do that again. So again, we're kind of sort of centering it a little bit past, about 1/16 of an inch past the 1/4 inch mark is about the center. Put a little score tape. Okay, then we'll grab our other piece of seam binding. Okay, that goes right over the center, right over the eyelet. And then we thread it right through the eyelet from the back side, okay, to the front side. And then those two pieces are ready. Then when we get our pattern paper on the top spine of our suitcase, then we can glue those pieces down. This piece will not get glued down. It'll be up a little bit. And then these are going to tie together and create our handle. Okay, so it'll look something like that. All right, hope that makes sense. So we're going to put these off to the side. These are prepped and ready to go. We'll put those off to the side, and then I'm going to grab the next piece of this project. Okay, this is what I'm calling the inner top flap with the waterfall and pocket. Big name for an interactive piece. I am making the waterfall kind of Polaroid style because there's some Polaroids and Polaroid pictures in this paper collection that really inspired me. So we're going to make them a little bit different size, and we're going to make an odd number of pages. So this is actually going to be 7 pages to this waterfall. So for the flap that we're going to add to our piece, it's 8.5 by 8.5. We're going to use waterfall and make the 7 pages. We're going to need a piece that's 4.5 by 11, 4.5 by 10, 4.5 by 9, and 4.5 by 4.5. And then there's going to be a pocket behind the waterfall that's going to be 3.5 by 6.5 piece of cardstock. You will need a couple pieces of seam binding, and we're going to use a couple magnets when we get this assembled. Okay, so let's put this right here for a second. Let's get our pieces. So the flap itself is 8.5 by 8.5, and you're going to put it in your scoreboard, and you're going to score at 1/2 and at 3, okay? 1/2 and 3. Then miter your 1/2 inch tab, and we'll fold and burnish like so, okay? All right. So we have that piece done. We're going to put this off to the side for just a second. We'll put it in our book in just a sec. So grab your pocket piece. So this is 3.5 by 6.5. And we're going to put it in our scoreboard. 6.5 at the top. We're going to score at 1/2 and at 6. Turn it, score at 1/2. And we're just going to miter and fold and burnish to create this pocket. Again, sharp around that, or around the corners, I should say. And then we'll go ahead and fold and burnish, and then that piece will be prepped. Okay. Okay. Put that to the side for a sec, and then grab your waterfall pieces. So we're going to start, you've got 3 longer pieces, okay? We got the 11, 10, and 9-inch piece, and then you've got the 4.5 by 4.5. You're going to take all of these, score them all the same, okay? You're going to put them in the scoreboard, the longer piece at the top. So for example, this is the 11-inch. We're going to score it 4 and turn and score it 4. This is going to be a stacked waterfall with an odd number of pages. So I usually do even number of pages. We're going to do odd. So 10-inch piece, again, 4 and turn it, and then 4, okay? And then your 9-inch piece, same thing, 4, turn it, and score at 4. This last piece, the 4.5 by 4.5, put it in there, score at 4. So I'm keeping it really easy, really super simple, okay? All of those pieces score at 4 inches. So then we're going to fold and burnish, and then we're going to stack these together and create our waterfall. The finished size will be 4 by 4.5, and that is the size of a Polaroid. So then the pattern paper pieces to put on these will measure 3.5 by 3. And I know you have seen that because you have seen the walkthrough. And that was kind of my inspiration, was Polaroids for this particular waterfall. So that's why I did it this size, and it worked really well for this page. Okay, so let's do that. Let's fold this one. You do not want to miter this 1/2-inch tab on the waterfall. You do not, because it'll show through the spine. You don't want that. So then I'm going to grab my spacer, my 1/2-inch spacer that I did get from Country Craft Creations. And I'm going to grab my bigger piece. So I'm going to open these all up so I can see them and put them in order of how I'm going to glue them down. So the longest piece at the bottom, I'm going to put this spacer here. It will catch right on that score line, and it'll be absolutely perfect. When we center everything, it'll be a 1/2-inch gusset for all of these pieces. So then take your next piece, which is your 10-inch piece, okay? And we're going to glue this spine piece right to that. So I'm going to put my glue here. Be careful not to go in my pages, because I don't want to glue my pages down, just these spine pieces in the middle. Make sure that hasn't moved. Okay, so we got our 1/2-inch. I'm just going to butt that right up to the spacer and line that up, and that will give me my 1/2-inch gusset for my waterfall. So then I'm going to turn my page, make sure that I wipe up any excess glue, okay, and glue that down. Okay, so now you should have a piece that looks like that. We're going to take our next piece here, and we're going to do the same thing. So spacer. Now, if you don't have a spacer, you can use your scoreboard. You just put it down on your scoreboard and then just measure a 1/2 inch, and then you can line it up that way. Use your ruler. Okay, glue on that spine. I'm butting that up, making sure it's nice and straight. I love this method of making my waterfalls. Been doing it for a while, and it's really awesome. And you can do it just about any size you want. Even pages, odd pages, doesn't matter. All right, so here's our little next page. So we're going to glue this tab down right to the edge. We don't need our spacer anymore, so I'm just going to glue on that 1/2-inch piece. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I really want to make sure that I glue it so that the cut edge is next to the score line, because I don't want that cut edge kind of showing. I hope that makes sense. So, oops, I'm going to just glue that right down to the score, so it's just right up against it. I don't, I want to make sure that I have my 1/2-inch space here, but then my 1/2-inch space here. You can use your spacer if you want to, but because this 1/2-inch tab is 1/2-inch, you don't really need to. Hope that makes sense. So there you go. So then you fold this down, and voila, you have a really nice waterfall assembly. Okay, so now let's put some stuff together. So we've got our waterfall done. Here's our pocket. We do need some seam binding because we really need to take care of that. And then we have our flap, okay? So the flap is going to go. So this piece here is going to glue on the inside of our suitcase to the back cover, right to the edge, okay? Like so. So, let's just do that first. Let's just do that first. So we're going to put the tag, or glue on the tab. I'm going to turn this to the side. So we've got our pocket for our tags here. We've got our side closures. This is the back cover. And I'm going to glue this. Actually, I'm going to glue this so that we still have that 1/8-inch space here. We need that for our magnets, okay? To make sure that everything closes nicely and is spaced nicely to accommodate our magnets, okay? The magnets will help keep the shape of our book, so they're pretty important, okay? So we're going to grab our, let's just do our magnets first. So the magnets are going to adhere the two top spines of these two flaps. I hope this is making sense because, I mean, I don't want it to be super confusing. But this really will help keep things in control. So I'm going to put my magnet kind of just right there. And here's another magnet. And this will help keep things nice and closed if I can get that off. Okay. So I'm going to put that right on that panel that we just adhered. All right, like that. And then I'm going to very carefully make sure that this is lined up and glue those down, okay? Kind of press those down. So, what I want to show you, and hopefully I'm going to get up so I can see it. The reason why we did that 1/8 inch space is to accommodate those magnets, okay? Otherwise, it's going to push our top lid up and be a little wonky because it won't fit. So we just basically just gave room so that those magnets can live there and be happy, okay? So this is our front cover, okay? Whoop, and that did not stick. There we go. Let's try that. There we go. So our front cover, and then this is that inner flap we just added, okay? So let's go ahead and I'm going to put a little tape over here for now. Okay. And then we're going to open that flap up. And then this is where we're going to be putting our waterfall. So on the inside of this top flap. Okay. First thing you're going to want to do is I did have 2 pieces of seam binding right here, 2 pieces of seam binding. So the first thing we're going to do is put seam binding on this side. We're just going to center it, add a little tape, and do that. So this page is 5.5, so this will be centered at 2 3/4. I'm going to put a little bit of seam binding here. So do that. I'm sorry, I had to stand up so I can kind of see what's going on here. And then this will go right in the middle, like so. And then our pocket is going to fit right over the top of that, okay? So this will help keep the seam binding from ripping paper. It'll have this extra piece of pocket that will help keep it secure, okay? So the other thing I was going to do is punch my tab, okay? So I'm just going to do a single in the center. So the center of this is 2 5/8. So I'm going to put this in my scoreboard, measure 2 5/8. And then we'll go ahead and put glue on our bottom pocket. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to line this up on the edge. Make sure it's nice and straight. Like so. Okay. And then grab your tape. And we're going to put tape down. And if you do not want to put pattern paper in all the way, if you're wanting to save a little bit of paper, just make sure you put an extra piece to cover that seam binding, okay? So we're going to put the piece down over the tab like we always do, but then I'm going to grab an extra little piece and put that right over our seam binding like so. And then that will make sure that our tags don't get stuck on anything, okay? And this will fold over and this is going to glue down, okay? So we'll go ahead and put some more glue here. More glue here. And glue that down. Okay. So the waterfall cannot be glued down until we get our pattern paper down on this side. Okay, the Waterfall is going to go like this, and then we're going to have seam binding that comes out this way and ties it shut. Okay, so we just can't put that on yet. Okay, so we're going to grab our other piece of seam binding, which is, I guess this, no, wait for it, this one. And we're going to put it on the back and prepare it, knowing that we can't glue it down quite yet, okay? So we're going to find the center point of our Waterfall, which is 2 1/4. Put our seam binding down there, like so. Whoop, did I get that centered? Doesn't look like it, does it? Michelle. Michelle. Some days I do okay, and some days I don't even know how I get through it. Okay, there we go. Too funny. Too funny. I got a little bit of tape there. That's okay. All right, so this is that inner flap, that inner top flap. This eventually will glue down here to the edge, but we do need to put pattern paper down first, okay? And then this whole thing will tie together. So what we're going to do is put this off to the side, knowing that we need to put that there. And you could even put your little note here to remind you that you need to do that. But we got our magnets set, so that's good. All right. Now, the other set of magnets that we need to do will adhere this outside pocket to this flap right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my other set of magnets that I did. I did use 2, and we really do need to do that just because it will hold everything together really nicely. And as this album gets used and papered and things put in it, it is going to get a little heavier. So I just want to make sure that it holds up really nicely. So I'm going to put my magnet here. And I'm going to put this other magnet right here. And this is on the back of that first little flat pocket that we did. So this is at the bottom of our book, right? So this is our, try and make sure that doesn't stick. This is our bottom pocket. This is our bottom spine. This is the back of our album. Okay, so we're oriented. We've got our Waterfall page is going to be here. So we're just going to lay this flat, and it should match up with the score line of this pocket. And we're just going to fold that up, and it's okay if it buckles a little bit, but that's how we line that up. And then that is going to be that bottom piece that's going to help hold everything together. Then when this closes and goes over the top, this will wrap around the front, and then our handles will be here. And believe me, these magnets will help hold everything all together just absolutely beautifully, okay? So you'll be able to actually carry it by the handle. So that's where we're at. So we're going to open that pocket up. We're going to open that flap up, and we're going to continue on with the next piece. So the next piece, I'm calling the, let's put this to the side. I'm calling the first inside flaps, and they're really easy to make. You need 2 pieces that are 8 by 5.5, and we're going to score these with the 8 at the top at 1/2 and 2.5. Okay, both pieces. First inside flap, 2 of them are 8 by 5.5, score at 1/2 and 2.5. Put those to the side. We'll grab the second pieces because they're very similar, and we'll add them all at the same time. The second inside flaps, again, you'll need 2 pieces, but these are 8.5 by 5, so they are a different shape. I did that on purpose because I really wanted to kind of be able to see layers and things as you open this book. So these 2 pieces here, you'll score both of these the same as well. Put them in your scoreboard, score at 1 and at 2. Okay, so they're going to have a smaller gusset here than these because everything's meant to be fitting inside of each other, and they're meant to have 1/2-inch gussets. So if you want to add some dimensional embellishments throughout this album, you can. Okay, so let's prep our flaps by miter the 1/2-inch tabs, all 4 of them, and then we'll fold and burnish. and we're going to put them on, and we're going to put them on in order. So the first set will go down, and then the second set will go down, okay? So here's my second set. Second inside flap here. And again, I did the sizes a little different on purpose. Okay, so we got that. And fold and burnish. Okay. Okay. I don't know if you guys are, I'm a Halloween junkie, everybody knows that. And I'm a huge Vincent Price fan. I love his old movies. I love them. They've been having marathons of some of his old scary movies this weekend and over the last several days. And I have just been loving watching those movies. I just love them. So there you go. All right. Here's our book. Or our suitcase, I should say. So the inside flaps, they're going to adhere right to the back cover. Okay, so again, we've got our back cover. We are working on this now. The first inside flaps, we're going to glue to the sides. Okay, and these are really meant to be the same size as this. They are also going to help keep the shape of this. So that's one of the reasons why I did this. I don't want this book kind of collapsing. I want to keep it kind of, you know, a square, boxy kind of shape. Okay. First inside flap's going to go right to the edge. Okay. Like so. Let me grab my bone folder. Okay. First inside flap on that side. And then we've got our first inside flap for the other side. We don't need any more magnets because that's one of the reasons why I put the side pieces. And then I also really wanted to have, like, you know, another seam binding piece. And then, like, you know, old suitcases with buckles and things. I was kind of had that in my brain as well. So I kind of wanted that. Where did my little wipey go? I don't know what I did with my wipey. You guys, I don't know. I get stuff out of the way and then it gets lost. There it is. I found it. I found it. Okay, there we go. So our first flaps that will go like this are down. Okay, so then we get our second flaps. And again, we're going to do the same thing. But remember that these are a different size. They're a little bit more narrow. They're only 5 inches tall instead of 5.5. So we're going to, when we glue them down, they will be glued about 1/4 inch up and down. Okay, so these will be a little bit less wide than the back of our album, and they're going to be glued just right to the edge. Okay, so these will fold over, and then this will be right by it. Okay, same thing on this other side. So we're going to take that, like so. And, ooh, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit the camera. That was rude. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this over, and I'm going to use this to make sure that I, you know, get it placed so that they're straight. Since I didn't measure and I eyeballed, I just kind of lining those pages up. Just kind of make sure that I get it kind of centered so it's not super off, right? Okay, like that. All right, like that. So we have our second pages here, and then the first pages will fold over top of it. So you can see the gusset here is 1/2 inch shorter than this one, so you can add some embellishments on the top. That was the other thing that I was thinking when I designed it. So then the next thing are what I'm calling Polaroid flaps. These are 4 by 6, and basically they're going to be put in the scoreboard, and we're going to score these, both the same. Our Polaroid flaps, you need 2 of those, 1/2 inch and at 1.5 inches. So this will be a 1/2 inch, or excuse me, a 1 inch gusset. Okay, so both of those 4 by 6, score it half and 1.5. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to miter and fold and burnish. So you can see each layer is also getting a less, you know, size gusset too. So we're kind of going down, you know, in dimensions. All right. So fold. And I told you it gets big. This project does get big once you open it up. There's a lot of room for pictures. A lot of places where you could add extra pockets using, you know, like die cuts or things like that, whatever paper collection you're using. All right, so these are going to be adhered to the top left and the bottom right of the back cover. And you can use your tabs from the flaps you just put on as a guide and just glue them with a 1/2 inch in from the left side and a 1/2 inch in from the right side. Okay, hope that makes sense. So we're going to just put glue on that. And again, these are Polaroid inspired. So here's 4 more like Polaroid pictures we're going to have. I'm going to turn it to the side just so I can see it a little bit better. And I'm just going to line that page up to the score line and then just go to that 1/2 inch tab there. That'll give me kind of a 1/2 inch in. Okay. So we're just building on that back cover. That's all we're doing. So I'm going to turn this around. And this one is going to go on the bottom right. Okay. So right here. And again, our Polaroid flap. I am really curious to know what you guys think of this. When I was designing this, I kind of did it. I had the idea and I just kind of like didn't do like my usual. I usually sit down and I draw out all these plans and, you know, I have a really good idea of what I want. The first one that I did, I just started winging it and then I tweaked it from there. And I don't know, I like how this came out. I do. Okay, so turning our book again. So now we have our Polaroid flaps that will go like this. So again, this is on the inside back cover on the top left, and this is on the inside cover on the bottom right. Okay, so next piece. This one is called the flap under the Polaroid flaps. 8.5 by 6.5. You're going to score in your scoreboard at 1/2 and at 1. So this is only going to be the 1/2 inch gusset. This is the last layer that we're going to do. And I'm going to miter one of the, sorry, I'm off camera, I know. 1/2 inch, top 1/2 inch tab. We're going to leave this one because that's going to be the gusset. Okay. And we're going to fold and burnish. Let's kind of scooch this out of the way. It is getting big. And I don't know what is on my paper. I must have gotten powder or something on my desk when I was doing some sticker work. But that's okay. It'll be covered up with pattern paper here directly, right? So we have our flap under the Polaroid flap, like that. Okay. So if we grab our book again, make sure we're in the proper orientation. All right. So this is the bottom. Okay. Here's our Polaroid flaps. This guy is going to go right under here, under the Polaroids. Okay. Polaroid had a 1/2 inch, or excuse me, a 1 inch gusset. This has a 1/2 inch gusset. Okay. So again, we're going to put glue on our 1/2 inch tab. Okay. And then I'm going to turn it to the side just so I can see it better. We're going to glue it right to the top. We're going to go underneath the Polaroids, edge to edge to the score line. Okay. Like so. Okay. And that's that. So that'll be the first layer down. And then your Polaroids on top. Then we have our second inside side flaps. We've got our first inside side flaps. And then this will be over, of course, the top of our book completely. But that's what we're looking at right now. The last thing we need to do before you can do your pattern paper is the mechanism that goes on the inside of the back of your spine that covers this whole thing, or the back of your cover, I should say. Covers this whole thing. And then the one thing to remember is that you do have to put pattern paper on this particular piece before you adhere that piece down. But we're going to make the mechanism, and then I'll show you where it's going to go. Okay, so this is the last thing, which I think is kind of cool. I love this thing, and I don't know why I don't use it more, because it's really cool. All right, so this pop-out mechanism takes a little bit of paper. It took 2 sheets, pretty much, well, 2.5 sheets actually to do, but it's really cool. For this particular size, you need 2 pieces that are 8 by 5. These are not scored. So 8 by 5, we do not score these. These are the kind of the front and the back cover of this mechanism. Then you need 2 pieces that are 9 by 5. Okay, so the 9 by 5 pieces, they're the ones that get scored, and you're going to put them in your scoreboard. 9 at the top. You're going to score at half and at 8.5, and then I'm going to flip it over and score at 4.5. Okay, let's do that again. We're going to put it in our scoreboard with a 9 at the top, at half, at 8.5, flip it over, and then score at 4.5, because I'm trying to get my scores the way I want them to go. Okay, we make mountains into valleys and valleys into mountains, and it makes your paper fold much better when you have the score lines going in the directions that you want them. We're going to miter these, and then we're going to fold them. So I'm just mitering the 1/2 inch pieces. Okay, get these. Okay. Then we're going to fold them into a W shape. So you want to, watch where your scores are going. And again, mountain into valley. So we're going to fold those in like so, okay, with the score lines that we made. And then you're going to fold it in half the opposite direction. Make sure everything lines up nice and neat. It is important to make sure that these are cut and folded properly so that it fits the mechanism properly, okay? So you should have a piece that looks like that. We're going to make 2 of those, so we're going to do it again. This is so easy, and it gives you so many opportunities for photos in this one little mechanism. It's just crazy sauce. So yeah, I need to use this more, incorporate it more into my projects, because it's just really fun. Kind of like a waterfall, it gives you lots more things to do. All right, so we have 2 pieces that are just like that. Okay, now grab one of your pop-up mechanism covers. Okay, this is the 8 by 5 that is not scored. These are going to glue so that the folded edge is at the edge of here, and these tabs are going to glue into the middle, okay? And these should meet in the middle when we glue them down, and they should go to the edge, and they shouldn't overlap or anything like that, okay? So dry fit them if you need to. And then I'm going to put glue on this one tab. We're going to do kind of one at a time here. Make sure I don't get glue where I don't want it. Okay, so again, the folded edge is to the outside. I'll line that up, line it up top and bottom, and then glue that down. Okay, so basically we're going to end up with something that looks like that. Okay, like so. Okay, so if you look at it from the top side, that's what you're going to have. Now we're going to do it the opposite direction on the other side. Okay, so again, glue on our tab. This is so cool. If you guys haven't seen this, this is so cool. I can't wait to show you. This is gonna be neat. So line that up. We want it meeting in the middle. We want it to the edge. Okay, just like so. Okay, then you can open that up. Make sure you don't have glue where you don't want it. Okay. Okay, everything's to the edge, it's lined up, nothing's overlapping, that's good. Now we're going to put glue on these, and we're going to put this on top of it. Okay, this is a little bit trickier just because of the folds. So we just have to be careful. You know, don't go overboard on your glue, because you really don't want this gluing where you don't want it, because then it won't work properly. Okay, so don't go crazy. All right. Then we're going to carefully line this up and lay that down right over, whoop, and not throw it around like I just did. Okay, lay that down, make sure it's nice and even. Let's get that off of here. And press it down the middle where we want it glued. Okay, so now you should have a piece that looks like this, right? Okay, so here's the cool part. When you put it in your book, we're going to glue one whole side down to the inside cover. So this is also going to not only help with the mechanism, but it's also going to give some strength to the back cover. Okay, when you want to look at this mechanism, you do this, and you have 4 picture opportunities right there that are 4 by 5 inches, and then you close it, and then guess what? It does it to the opposite side as well. So you have 8 picture opportunities just by doing that, plus whatever you want to put on the front. Okay, this again will be added to the, oops, guess I better fix that, huh? There we go. Okay, this will be added to the back cover, the inside back cover. You have to put pattern paper down first, because this will not cover the whole entire piece. So you're going to have some pattern paper showing around the edges. If you want to be super creative and save paper, you can do like a border around here and save putting pattern paper down here, because it's going to get covered up anyway, right? But then when it gets stuck down here, when you glue that whole back piece down, it'll open like this, and then it will open like this. And when you get your pattern papers on and everything, it's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. You will definitely, now if you want to leave some blank, if you want to leave like these black and then just have big opportunities and maybe use some die cuts or something here, that's great. But on the outer pieces, because of where the tabs are, you will need to cover that with either another piece of cardstock or pattern paper, okay? This does not need a closure. It does kind of pop up, which is really kind of cool, because when you have all of these things closed, you know, and you're going through the album and you open this up and you open this up, and then, oh, hey, look at this. So anyway, that's it. I think that's it. So when this folds up, we're gonna have our, our flap under our Polaroids. Then you're gonna have your Polaroid flaps, okay? Then you're gonna have your side flaps, okay? So 1, 2 for the second flap, and then 1, 2 for your first flap. We will have our waterfall here, okay? So let's not forget, we're gonna have our waterfall here. And for right now, I can just stick it in this pocket here and not forget that I need to put that down, right? So that'll go here and tie with a pretty bow. This piece will come down, all right? This piece will come up and magnet there. You're gonna have your top flap that'll go here, and you heard the click of the magnets up at the top. So you're gonna have magnets here and magnets down here that help hold everything together. And then these two come in the sides, and then that holds your sides together. We are going to need to put seam binding here for the closure. So we're going to put pattern paper on this kind of square here. I'm not going to cover right here. So just put your seam binding, your score tape back just a little bit, okay? So that it doesn't show. We're going to put our seam binding down, okay? And then it's going to loop right through the eyelet from the back to the front, okay? Do the other side. Same thing, just kind of make sure your score tape is back a little bit from this edge, because we're going to use pattern paper to cover that up. Then we're going to put our seam binding just kind of right over that eyelet, okay? And then loop our seam binding through the eyelet from the inside to the outside. So then that'll all be secured right here with pattern paper. And then when you go to the front, Okay, you can tie it shut and it's going to have a really pretty bow on the front, and then you can, you know, cover that with pattern paper, and you can have more photo opportunities here if you want. I mean, there's just tons of opportunity. And then don't forget that once you get your pattern paper on here, then you have your top handle closure pieces. Okay, so once you get your pattern paper on and get your pattern paper on here, you glue this down on top of the pattern paper. Okay, this will stick up, so you just glue this rectangle here, and then you tie this in a cute little bow, and you have a nice little handle, and all of the magnets and this particular part closed up will help hold everything together. So I hope that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put pattern paper on here and everything, and then I actually will come back and I'll show you about attaching those and making sure that I show you about attaching this and the other piece, and then we'll be done. So I will be back in just a few minutes. So I put on the pattern paper to this, and then I was going to show you how to finish it up with the ties on the top and then the elements on the inside. But you can see that it holds together really, really well, and it looks great. I love these papers, just super cute. So here's the pocket on the back. So I just kind of want to show you what it looks like right now. So then this is how everything kind of stays in on the side. So it unties like that, and then opens up. So we're going to have a pocket here with a couple tags. I still haven't done the tags yet, but I'm going to get that done. And then you have your little pocket here. So then this opens up like so. All right. And then it opens like this. This is where we're going to put our waterfall. And I have the first layer of side flaps, and then the second layer of side flaps. We have our Polaroid flaps, and I did them just, you know, like a Polaroid. So on these, I left the cardstock plain, but then I added the pattern paper, and they're cut at 3.5 by 3. So I added the two papers there, and then I added the two papers top and bottom to still create the Polaroid effect. We've got the inner flap here, and then this is where the pop-out mechanism is going to go. So let's start with the pop-out mechanism, and we'll work from the inside out. So we've already made it. I did put the pattern paper down because that's important to do before you add that element on there. So here is the pop-up mechanism. Now I put pattern paper on the front, but I did not put it on the back because that's what's going to stick down to the pattern paper like that. When you open it up, it'll open like this. I put pattern paper on the two outer ones, which cover the tabs, and then I left these plain. And I think what I'm going to do is use some of the fussy cut aparts, little elements and things to put on these pages here, and then you can tuck the picture behind. And then that way it'll also help with the bulk. And then on this side here, I use those images as well, again, to cover the tabs from making the mechanism. So literally, just gonna put some glue down and glue this down right in the middle of that back inside cover. Okay, and it will have a little bit of border around. So I'm just gonna lay that down like so, right in the middle, and then I'll go around, kind of open it up and make sure that it's stuck down like so. It's a fun element. I think that's really a fun element, and you get a lot of real estate on that too, because obviously you can put pictures all over the place. But yeah, it opens up quite nicely. I love that. Okay, so that is on the very inside of the back cover. So then this flap goes down like so, and then the Polaroid flaps go up like this, and then you have your side flaps. So right, left, right, left. Okay, so up here is where the waterfall is going to go. I did do the waterfall, so I have my piece right here. So we had put it all together, and we put the seam binding on the back, and then I just went through my scraps of pattern paper and created faux Polaroid picture frames, I guess, if you will. I left the back sides plain so that you could put more pictures in there, but there's 7 different pictures that are going to work really well. Or 7 different places, I should say, pages that you can put down. So what I'm going to do is, because there's a pocket behind, I'm going to utilize that pocket. So I want to put this on the top. I'm going to turn this to the side, and I'm just going to glue it right to the middle, right to the edge, okay? So I'm going to take my centering ruler here. This page is 5.5, so the center should be at 2 3/4. And then I'm just going to add glue to the spine piece of my waterfall and glue that down. Make sure that you don't glue that back page down, because if you do, then you won't be able to use your pocket that's behind there. So you could add, you know, little journaling spots, more tags, all kinds of stuff, okay? So I'm going to, this is 4.5 tall, so it lines up at 2 1/4, and I'm just going to lay that down, kind of press that down, and then I'm going to open it ever so carefully so I don't move it around, and then just make sure that I don't have glue seeping around. So you can use all of the pages here. I may go back, I don't know if I'm going to go back and put paper in the spines or not. I haven't decided yet. I do have quite a bit left over, and I'll let you know down in the description how much I actually used altogether. But there is the Polaroid. Then behind here is where you can put some tags. So like these tags will be too big. These are the ones that we created from cutting the graphic 45 tags to make the handles for the top. So they're a little bit too big for these pockets, but they could work for these pockets here, or you could on the backs of these make a little like a tuck pocket on the side or something, and then add these to that. So there's lots of options that you can use for those. But anyways, that is the waterfall down. So then this will just tie, and I'm just going to tie it right in the middle there. Whoop, if I can get my fingers to work, that is. So there's that. All right, and then we'll just tie a little knot down so it won't fray. All right, and get my scissors here, like so. Trim that off, and that is done, okay? So when it folds up, then you'll have the side tab, side flap, side flap, okay? This goes down in the middle, all right? And then this will flip up here. We do have these pockets here, so the tags could actually work there as well. Okay, we'll put those in there for now. And then this goes up and it ties. And I've already done the knots in the edge of the seam binding on these. So again, if I can get my fingers to work, there's that. And then I didn't get that quite tight, but anyway, you get the gist here. So then let's do the top. So I grabbed the pieces here and I just went through my scraps of what was left over, and I really wanted to use the blue since I used the blue on the sides. You see that. So I kind of wanted to keep that theme. So just put a little piece of pattern paper here. Okay, this little square that we covered, or this little rectangle here, measured about 2 by 2, almost 2 5/8. So I cut the pattern paper here at 1 7/8 by 2 3/8. All right, so we are just going to put glue on the back of this. We're not going to go on the rounded part because that we actually want that to be able to move a little bit. All right, and I'm going to stand up so I can see, and I'm just going to eyeball center this so that there's an even amount of paper kind of bordering around. And I dropped my wipey. All right, so I'm just going to do that. Now I'm not going to pick this up yet. I want this to dry thoroughly, so don't go crazy and start picking up your handle. Let this dry for a while, okay? Do the other side. And again, I'm eyeballing, making sure that I got kind of an even amount of pattern paper kind of bordering this piece. press that down. This book, as you add the pattern papers and things, it does get really sturdy, so it's really nice. Making sure there's no glue seeping out to glue that down. And then you will just tie a bow, and you're going to tie it kind of so that you do have an actual handle, so you're not going to go tight. Okay, like so. Make sure my little bows are done, and then you can tie knots, and then that'll be done. Okay. I like to try and get my stuff as even as I can. It's my thing. Now all I have to do now is decorate, but that is the end of the tutorial basically. So you have seen the walkthrough part, and so I will you know, finish decorating and get that out so that actually, you know, you really will have seen it, because I do need to decorate. But that is the tutorial for my Suitcase album. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too super confusing. Please let me know what you think. Again, just kind of a quick walkthrough of what this album looks like. You got your waterfall up here, and whoop, my desk isn't big enough for this album. It's kind of big, but there you go. So here is my album, and then again it opens like so, and then like so. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please go to Country Craft Creations at countrycraftcreations.com and grab Bon Voyage. This is a great paper collection. I use the 12 by 12. I'll have all the information in the description about cut guides and how much paper I used and how much cardstock I used and everything. But I did use the 12 by 12 paper collection, and I did use the 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So you definitely could use the 12 by 12 cardstock for this album if you wanted to, but I did use the 12 by 12 papers because of the size of the book with the 8.5 by 11 cardstock that I use. So there you have it. So thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day. Stay crafty, and I will see you again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.